Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. And we have also to say a warm welcome to each and every one of us, my dear colleagues, from all the public university. Thank you for being with us together in this marathon journey with Dr. Diane Chamber, with Simeo Sen. There's a whole big group of them, okay, together with us. And also we have from our higher education department personnel. Juan Nalia is also with us representing Dr. Juan Johannes. Okay, so today is an important time where Dr. Diane brings us into the world of accessibility again. Thank you, Dr. Diane. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to just thank the facilitators publicly as well. They've just done an amazing job and it wouldn't happen without them. So thank you so much. Okay. All right. So today, Touchpoint 3, how excitement. I'm very excited. And we're really going to now look at your open education resource and how we can make sure it's inclusive. So this is the real crux of what we're supposed to be doing here. Today, we're going to have a look at how we check for accessibility. How do we make sure it's inclusive for as many people as possible? We're also going to have a bit of a look at some copyrighted materials. I've had a question around music, for example. And we're going to have some examples from participants. We're also going to provide a checklist for you to develop your 3-minute YouTube video that will then be part of our sharing. Okay, so this is our timeline. We've done our plan of action. We've done some independent work. We've done a check on our progress, last checkpoint. Today, we're going to be looking really very much at accessibility and adjusting those iOER if they need to be. Now, some people won't need to adjust. They've really, put it in place to start with, but other people might need to tweak just a little bit to make sure that it's accessible. And then obviously we've moved our timeline a bit, but hopefully in the next sort of week or two, your iOER will be ready to share and you'll be able to provide the final link for everybody to see for that iOER. We're still waiting on a time for the showcase and a format, but hopefully that will be organised soon and will be transmitted to you. Okay, so we've constructed our OER, and some people have done OER, not iOER. So we're looking at iOER here. And if you've made sure that the material was inclusive before you actually put it together, then you have less of an issue when you're starting to check it for inclusivity. Whoops, sorry, who's making a noise? Oh, can you mute your microphone? Sorry. Hang on, there we go. I can do it. Okay, so if you've done, made sure that whatever material you were putting up was inclusive beforehand, then it's the best way to go. If you haven't, then you need to check your completed material to make sure that it's actually okay. Hang on a second. I'm going to find that person and mute them. Who is that? 1 second. Okay. No.
Dr. Diane, can you appoint me as I can help you to mute them?
Yeah. Let me appoint you now. Hang on.
Okay.
There you go. Try that.
All right.
Okay, sorry, very distracting. Okay, so what we do now is check to make sure we haven't missed anything. And it's very easy to miss things, especially if we're not coming in from the perspective of somebody with a disability. So when you're looking at your iOER, put yourself in the shoes of somebody who has a vision impairment or has a hearing impairment or somebody who has some physical motor disability. And somebody might have cognitive impairment. Try and put yourself into their shoes when you look at your resources that you've developed. Oh, go back. Okay. And it's also really helpful to have someone who's not involved. So someone who hasn't helped you develop those iOER, try and see if they can have a look at it and if they can find anything that maybe is not inclusive, that somebody would be excluded or have difficulty accessing that material for some reason. Even better is to get your end users, and your end users are often, in our case, students. So have you got some students with disabilities that you can ask to just review those materials? By doing that, you know that you're going to be, really targeting the people that you're hoping to ensure are included in those material development. So that's really things that we should be doing at this point in time. What I've done is I've put online, again, in Touchpoint 3 for you, all of the accessibility checklists that we've looked at. So depending on the type of resource you've constructed, you can use one or more of these checklists to see if it meets those criteria. So if it's just general accessibility, there's a number of checklists on the web that I've put up for you, including the checklist for accessibility and the ICSME one. So they just look generally at whether or not that OER is accessible. It could be a document or word accessibility, and you can get started there's a getting started document accessibility and an MS Word 2016 basic authoring and testing document as well. If you're looking at PDF, there's a PDF checklist there for you, so you can see if PDFs are accessible. And there's some PowerPoint ones up there as well. So I think there's 3 different documents up there which provide you with support on determining whether a PowerPoint is accessible or not. And then images. So with complex images or images that you've got in your PowerPoints or in your PDFs, you need to make sure they have alternate text. Even if they are something like a logo or any image is going to be picked up by a screen reader. So as a screen reader scans across the page or across the PowerPoint, it will actually say this is an image, and it looks at its extension. Okay, so it'll say this is an image, it'll read it as an image, and then if it doesn't have anything in there, it'll just say image, no description. And so the person doesn't know if they've missed any information. It can be quite disconcerting. So even if it's a logo, you just put, university logo, or you put, decorative image, so that they know that it's just something there for decoration and it's not important to their knowledge. Okay. With websites, we've got the web content accessibility guidelines, and they're also up there for you. So you've got them all in one nice little space where you can go and access them. So I did spread some of these out across what we did. If you're then also using those checklists, there are some inbuilt accessibility checkers that you can also target. So once again, depending on the type of resource, if we're using Word, you can use the inbuilt accessibility checker in Word. And that will tell you whether there's any issues that come up with your document. It's a really good thing to do, just to make sure that you've got things that are accessible for screen readers in particular. There's the PAVE tool for PDF accessibility. So if you want to go and upload your PDF to the PAVE tool, you can do so. There's an inbuilt accessibility checker for PowerPoint. And I went through some of people's fantastic iOER last night, and I've got some general considerations for that as well. Check that alt text is included for all images, just can't stress that enough. And then you've got the web content accessibility guidelines, and you can upload your website, your URL to these and determine whether or not they're accessible. So those are the things we need to do now. We've got our resource, we've developed our iOER. We need to go and check that accessibility just to make sure that it's all appropriate for students. Some of the other areas that I've been asked about too are things like gamification. And gamification is a really interesting one. What I did do is I found a really relevant 2019 article on accessibility and gamification. Okay, and this particular article had a number of different elements that it looked at in regards to gamification. What I've done is I went through and I drew out all of those different elements around CAP's 9 elements of gamification. So if you look at some of the key components of gamification, the game-based features, the mechanics of it, the aesthetics, the game thinking, the engagement, working with people, motivating action, etc. There are a number of considerations for various areas across that. So I've put this particular document up in your Google site as well. So all I've done is extrapolated from the article. So it was a brilliant article from Smith and Abrams. And if you're into gamification, definitely one I would suggest you go and look at. So what they're talking about are things you need to consider for people when you're putting together gamification within your course or content. And things like, requiring an alternate means to ensure that the look and feel of the game comes through, even though you're not using visual tools. Making sure that you've got visual cues for things like success or failure, or moving across a screen, or you've got those visual as well as auditory as well as visual cues for students. So it really goes through lots of those. I haven't put all of it up here, but it also talks about some cognitive and neurological considerations as well. And quite important to consider those elements when you're looking at gamification in particular. The other thing that I was asked about was augmented and virtual reality. And, oh, sorry, do you want to ask a question first, Dr. Chong?
Yes, Dr. Diane. I would like to ask, like, if the participants they're developing an iOER for gamifications, instead of considers to make the gamified activity inclusive, they only just upload instructions for a particular gamifications, and then they make it like pass the path checker. Can we consider that as iOER? It's not really inclusive.
No. So if it's gamification and it doesn't include people within the context of the game itself, then no, it's not inclusive. It's not accessible for them. So we've got people who can't access it, then no, it's not. And that might not be the purpose what they're using it. So in that case, I would say no. If you're making the instructions inclusive, but not the game, that doesn't really work that way.
Yeah,
okay.
Agree.
Sorry. So the second one I had was augmented reality. And I've just looked up here, augmented and virtual reality. So I love my augmented and virtual reality. I'm a bit of a fan. And I was asked about case studies and AR. So case studies also need to be inclusive, but that doesn't mean you have to have the case study incorporating a person with a disability if it's not relevant. Okay, so I wasn't quite sure what that one meant. So similar considerations for accessibility apply across the board. So for example, if we're using augmented reality, what are the perception needs for people, vision and hearing impairments? So can I use immersive sound effects for somebody that has a vision impairment? Can I use audio description? Can I use image magnification or think about my color choice and contrast? So there's a variety of different things that I need to consider when I'm using AR as well. Physical needs. So if I've got somebody who can't manipulate a device, is there spoken voice control, an easier way to manipulate that device? So when you're using AR, for example, we're often using a tablet device and, or a phone and holding that tablet device over something or pointing it at a geo point. And, how do we make sure that that student can also do that? Is there a way? Sometimes students too are using accessible gamepads instead of other devices that other students might be using. So how do I build that into my AR and VR? And particularly with VR, that accessible gamepad thing's really important. So if I've got somebody that can't move, and VR really does depend a lot on motion control, how do I make that not depend on motion control as much? And then consider the cognitive or learning needs of the students as well. So navigation, ease of use, the structure of what you're putting together, all of those things should be considered as part of the development of AR and VR. Okay. And I've put up here some really useful web links for you. So these web links really clearly go through augmented and virtual reality and how to make them accessible. So I found these very, very useful links. And if you are going down that road, which is great, these will give you a lot of direction. Okay, so I'm not going to go into any great depth, but they'll give you some direction as well today. Okay. The next thing I really wanted to just touch base on, I was asked a question about music, and you have to be very careful with this. As we are developing inclusive, open educational resources, it means they should be open and available to all. Because of that, some of the things that we usually consider to be okay use of music in our institutions may not be okay. So within our institutions, we often have a specific license, or we can get away with what they call fair dealing. Okay, so I looked up the Copyright Act in Malaysia, and basically it says that if you infringe something, you reproduce material and distribute it to the public. So in our case, we would be doing that. Okay, so copyright applies very strongly to music that's used. Now, there's a couple of things you can do, and I've put some websites up here which will give you some further information. The bottom one is music authors copyright in Malaysia. So it gives you some really good information around that as well. And what you can do is use either freely available music, so music that is not copyrighted, that has a Creative Commons license. That is the absolute best way to go, okay? Or design and develop your own music if you're so inclined. Would not be one thing I did, because I'm really not musically inclined, but some people are, so, you know, go for it. Or obtain copyright permission. So just be extra careful with music. Same as with images, you know, you're using copyrighted stuff. If it's not got a Creative Commons license, then you shouldn't be using it, not in an open platform. Often what we do as educators is that we might have, and this is what we have in Australia, is a special license which covers them to use music as part of their teaching. But that's in a closed environment. So that's within the context of your course or in the context of your university only. And they are very limited agreements most of the time. So they don't apply to OER because it's open to everybody. Okay, so your two choices are, or three choices are, find Creative Commons licensed music, design your own, develop your own, or get the copyright permission if you need to. Okay, and if you go onto the copyright site for Malaysia, it'll give you clear directions about how you go and obtain that copyright if you really would like to do that. Okay, and this occurs to any part of the music, so 10 seconds, you know, 20 minutes, whatever. It could, you know, any part of the music is copyrighted, so you need to be extremely careful there. All right. Hopefully that answered some questions for some people, hopefully. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this one because we might do it last, but I just wanted to make some suggestions. So I've had a look last night. I spent some time going through about 7 of the projects that were uploaded at that time to the Google Drive. And just a couple of things I've noted. Most of them are fabulous, and congratulations to everybody who uploaded them. I was really impressed. But some things you might need to think about. So review the contrast of the colour, and what some people have done too is just make it white and black. And you don't have to do that. As long as you've got good contrast with your colour, you'll be okay. All right. But consider the rest of the people too looking at it. They might want a bit of colour, or, you know, want a bit of contrast in there. So consider the contrast. One of the PowerPoints I looked at, for example, had light blue writing on a slightly darker blue background. If I was in the back of a classroom, I would find it difficult to read that. Okay, so consider those elements. Make sure you've got good contrast. It doesn't matter if you've got colour, but is the contrast good? All right. Check that all video is captioned and that any text is spoken. That should be is spoken or captioned accordingly. So if you've got a text at the front of your PowerPoint, for example, or I saw some video and it had some text at the front, but it wasn't captioned. So the text said what the video was about, and it was beautifully texted, but it wasn't then captioned underneath. So you don't necessarily have to do that, but if you've got somebody that has limited vision and is listening, they won't be able to read that text. Okay, so things to consider, little tiny things, but they might make a difference to somebody's perception. All right. Try to avoid flashing graphics on slides and videos. That can be really distracting for some people, and they find that very difficult to then concentrate. So particularly there was a fabulous student one that somebody from counselling had done, which was absolutely brilliant. And it had all these lovely flashy bits at the start, but that can be really difficult for people with a vision impairment or cognitive difficulty to process. So alt text is really important. I can't stress that enough. One of the activities I looked at, one of the PowerPoints had 83 images that didn't have old text. So you've got somebody who's trying to figure out what's going on, and the diagrams weren't described, and that sort of thing. So please make sure you just check your resources for that. And this is what we're here about today. One of the activities that I went through had the text in light grey, and then it filled in darker as they spoke. That's really difficult for people with a vision impairment to figure out what's going on. So you're better off just to have the black text coming in, or the darker text coming in as you're speaking, and that way the person can follow it more clearly. Okay, so I love it. It was great, but you need to make sure that somebody can perceive it effectively. And the size of the font. So make sure that the font you're using is reasonably large. It should be quite big so that people can see it, and magnified effectively. Okay, so just a couple of things that I did find, and I just wanted to feed back. But I thought they were fabulous, and everybody's done a brilliant job of putting together those resources, so well done. On that point, one thing that we're going to all develop is a 3-minute YouTube video. And that 3-minute YouTube video will be used in the showcase to highlight what everybody has done, which I'm so excited about. I think it's going to be brilliant. I've put together a little checklist for you. So things that you need to include in your 3-minute video. You need to state the topic area of the resource and who your end users are going to be. So if your topic is, I don't know, volcanoes, who are your end users? Geography students. So you need to actually state who they are and what they're doing. You need to identify the type of resource, and it doesn't matter what type of resource you've developed, that's totally fine. It could be a PDF sheet, it could be PowerPoint, a book chapter, all sorts of different things. So it doesn't matter, but just specify what it is and why you developed this content as iOER. So what made you choose this particular content in this particular format? So I might say, well, I chose volcanoes as a book chapter because there was little information in this area that was widely available to my students. Okay, so very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. You need to discuss the considerations that you took into account when you were developing that particular iOER. So what did you think about when you were developing the resource? Did you have to go back and make any changes afterwards, which is fine? No problem there whatsoever, okay? And identify what you've learned as a result of this particular project. I also want you to think about how you're going to share what you've learned with colleagues at your university or organisation, because this is the point of having, at least 2 people from the organisations come, is that you can then be the champions. So you're now the champions of iOER, and you are going to share and disseminate with other colleagues at the university. So think about strategies for how you might go about doing that. I think that's a really critical component of this particular project, because that's, you're designed to be the people who can then lead this. And then lastly, but not leastly, provide a link to your iOER so that people can access it if they feel that that's useful for them, or they would like to see how it's developed. So you are coming in as champions, as examples of iOER, and sharing that with the world. Okay, thank you. So let's go back. Who would like to share? Dr. Chong, have you got anyone you can pick on? Or anybody who would like to put their hand up to share?
Hi, Dr. Diane. Before that, can I read out a few questions that have been asked by the participants? So Dr. Julia, she asked this question during the help desk session. She asked about, can we use the cover photo of a book? Means we're not using any content of the copyrighted books, but then we say that if you want you want to read more, you can refer to this particular book, and then we put the cover page of that book in the PowerPoint or in the PDF. Is that around? That is one question. Another question asked by her is if we use a photo of a particular researcher from their CV, is that have any copyright infringement? Yeah.
I think you need to be asking permission if you're going to be using people's photographs, because you're putting their name up against something. So they have to say that I'm okay with that. So yes, if you're using a researcher's photograph, just ask them. Usually they'll say yes, it's usually not a problem, but it depends on the context. I mean, if you're saying this person's done great work and we want to highlight their work, then I don't think they'll have an issue with it. But if you're saying that this person's associated with this project, then that might be an issue. So I think you need to look at how it's going to be used and what purpose it's used for. Okay. Yeah. So the first one I wouldn't bother. The second one I absolutely would.
Right. Another question will be if like the authors, they buy a copyrighted photo, for example, they buy from iStocks.com.
Yeah.
And that is actually a copyrighted material, but they gain the permission by buying it, and then they make it as a iOER, or they claim it as OER for people to use. Is that
so you need to look at the when you go to iStock or any of those stock image places, when they have, when you buy the image, it tells you how you can use that image. So you need to go and look at what it says in regards to how you can use that image. If you can use that image for commercial purposes, then it means that you can disseminate that image. So you'll be okay. But if it doesn't, if it says it's only for private purposes, then you won't be able to use that as a part of your iOER. Okay, so you need to go back to iStock and have a look at what the licensing is for that particular image. So yes, it might be a copyrighted image, but if you've purchased permission to use the copyrighted image, then you have to look at how that purpose has been defined. Okay, so it's very tricky. I mean, you just need to make sure that they've got in their terms of use that you can use it in an open way. Okay, and in regards to the PDF of the book, I can't see that being an issue because you're just stating that this is something to use. So you're not using it in any commercial way, or you're not, so I can't see that being a problem.
Okay, just now, Dr. Munira, she mentioned she would like to show her project, but she's not available. Hopefully she's still available.
What about,
because she says she will, Annie, yes, Annie, mental Annie also raised.
Annie?
Okay, yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, Dr. Diane. Hi, Dr. Chong. Okay, it's regarding the copyright issues. Okay, just have one question. Okay, I found out this one video, but then in one OER repository. Okay, but then the license is not stated.
Then you have to assume that it's copyrighted.
Okay.
Okay, so if it's not stated and there's no license on it, it automatically is assumed that it's copyrighted and you can't share it.
I just need your opinion. Okay. How should I put this? Okay, a video when it's uploaded to the YouTube, that one is considered as copyrighted, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when we found that video in both what you call that platform, okay, in YouTube and also in this OER repository, so that one can be considered as copyrighted materials, right?
Yeah,
so,
and it means that either the person owning the copyright has put it in both places,
okay,
or somebody has illegally put it up as open.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, because I cannot find any information about that video in the iOER, in the OER repository.
And is there any information on the YouTube video about who owns it?
Also, no, there's no license stated in that YouTube video.
Yeah. I would still steer away from it. Find another video. It's just too uncertain. And if you're unsure about anything like that, I would really strongly suggest you go to your legal department at your university and just double check with them. But in that case, I'd probably not use it because the license is not stated. We have to assume copyright and find an alternative. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thank you,
Or
Dr. Diane.
develop your own. Then you know that it's okay. Okay. All right. Thanks, Annie. Okay, Manira, are you ready to share?
Munila, do you want me to share your video here?
Yes, please.
All right, okay.
Oh, I'll stop sharing. Hang on, sorry. There we go.
Okay. Hold on, yeah.
Kluster kekeluargaan dasar dan pelantindakan wanita Pahang. Keluarga makmur, ke arah pemerkasaan institusi kekeluargaan negeri Pahang. Keluarga makmur. Konsep keluarga makmur bersifat inklusif, menyediakan sistem sokongan yang padu, memberi sepenuh kasih sayang, bersifat belas kasihan kepada ahli keluarga yang memerlukan bantuan. Keluarga menjadi tempat untuk mendapat ketenangan. 10 aspek ekosistem mesra komuniti keluarga makmur: pendidikan, kerohanian, kepimpinan dan bakat, kesihatan, kewangan dan kejaya, kaunseling, kejiranan dan komuniti, riadah dan rekreasi, keperluan khas, kelestarian. Seterusnya, 5 asas pelindungan keluarga makmur terdiri daripada agama, nyawa, akal, keturunan, harta. Berdasarkan elemen-elemen tadi, maka wujud keperluan kepada penubuhan yayasan keluarga makmur yang berfungsi sebagai platform kepada kluster kekeluargaan bagi 5 tahun yang mampan dan lestari. Mari kita tonton perincian kepada perkara ini. Keluarga makmur mempunyai 3 objektif utama iaitu kelestarian keluarga, pemerkasaan institusi keluarga, dan kemakmuran masyarakat. Objektif pertama, kelestarian keluarga mempunyai 3 strategi iaitu di dalam aspek pendidikan, kesihatan serta kewangan dan kejaya. Bagi objektif kedua, pemerkasaan institusi keluarga mempunyai 4 strategi di dalam aspek kerohanian, kepimpinan bakat, kaunseling dan keperluan khas. Bagi objektif ketiga, kemakmuran masyarakat mempunyai 3 strategi iaitu di dalam aspek kejiranan dan komuniti, riadah dan rekreasi dan kelestarian. Kluster kekeluargaan dasar dan pelantindakan wanita Pahang.
Okay.
Okay. Munila, you want to elaborate on your project? I'm not sure she's
Okay,
still here.
Yeah, here she is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So sorry. So Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. So basically that is the that is just the draft of our video. We still have to incorporate sign language
Okay.
and also some other elements, but we try our best to insert at least the inclusive should I say materials for the what we say about the sari kata in English. We try to the subtitle and also we try to make it inclusive in terms of the content.
Right.
So we describe, we
can
do
I
the
make-
description.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yes, please.
I would slow it down a little bit. It's very fast. And if I've got somebody who has problems processing information, I might want to slow it down a little bit so that they've got time to actually take in what is being said on the video. So that pacing element comes in there as well. Okay. The video is beautiful, but you think about the pacing of it because it went through so fast. Your picture's going away and you're still trying to speak what was on the picture. So it's something like that, maybe think about, it doesn't matter if it makes it a bit longer, but slow that speed down a little bit. If you've got somebody who's trying to view and hear at the same time, it can be quite difficult for them to do that. So just a little thing there as well. And I think having some captions where there was no writing on the screen, having captions there as well. So there was a couple of instances where you were talking but there was no writing. So most of the time there was writing on the screen that was being talked, but in this case there wasn't. So just consider those little things as well. Dr. Chong had some.
Yeah, I would like to suggest, I think the video is beautiful. Just some of the icons, like for example, you have yellow icons, but white colors fonts. That kind of icon is very low contrast for certain learner of vision impair or color blindness issues. So avoid those low contrast, but it's very beautiful. Just beautiful. Some of the icon is the contrast is too low.
Yep. So go back and consider the contrast between, what you're showing and whether a person can actually perceive that really easily. Yeah. We've got Azlis.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Dayan, Chong, and everyone. We are from Simiosen. We have 3 projects, so I think just want to share with you what we have done so far. Can I share my screen?
Hang on, we'll just say thank you, Manira, and hopefully our comments and feedback was helpful. And please do, as Liz, share your screen.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Sorry, I will upgrade on behalf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate.
So can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this is our iOER repository for the time being for the Simiosen. So we have 3 projects. First is the video tutorial on how to prepare iOER friendly PowerPoint presentation. It will be it already uploaded in the YouTube of our organization. The next one is the accessible Simiosen corporate introductory presentation. So we provide slide presentation for the corporate introduction. And the last one, the third group is this DIE, Disability Inclusive Education article in PDF.
Great.
So
and I noticed that you've got a variety of different licenses there as well.
Yes. We discussed it last Friday with the director. So we try to check to accommodate with the CC license.
Can I ask why the middle one is a non-derivative?
Yeah, I want to ask that. So
I think the group leader need to answer that.
Okay, I just wondered because that means that it's not an open resource.
Yes.
Okay, if I may add, I'm from group 2, developing the presentation. It's just that we feel that the information in the PowerPoint is a fact about the organization. If we allow modification, it might come out differently and it might affect the when they share, it could be misleading. So that's what we have in mind.
Perfect. And that's okay, but maybe you wouldn't have this one sitting here then, because this is your iOER repository, but it's not it can't be remixed or it can't be changed. So it's not really iOER. So it might be part of your information that you have for your employees, but it might not fit here within this iOER section. Sorry, don't mean to be mean, but that, yeah, it just, if it's non-derivative, it means it can't be sort of changed in any way. So it's not really an open education resource.
Dr. Dayan, in that case, because we want to share the information by freely, so everyone can share it, can use it, but they can't amend or change it. So is it not considered as a OER?
No, it's considered as information.
I see.
So if it's if you've got your 5 R's, you reuse, remix, redistribute, etc., then it's considered OER. But in this case, because it's non-derivative and they can't change it, we can't remix, reuse, etc. So it's not considered open ed resource. It's considered maybe an education resource, but it's not open.
I see.
How if, let's say, we put a disclaimer in the PowerPoint presentation that this is information as of certain date, this is what we share, and I mean, we want to share, but it's just that we want to let them
I would share it, but I would actually put it in a separate section. So you might say this is information and this is our iOER.
Okay.
Can I chip in on this? Can I ask questions on these particular topics that under ND license? Is this project is to teach people how to make an introductory presentation that accessible, and you are using Simulsen's corporate presentation as example? In that case, the step-by-step can be certain license, but only your corporate information, the particular part in your material, you can make it ND. The others, like the step on how to develop an accessible presentation, all the materials can be non-ND license, the other CC license. Only your corporate presentation, you make it ND. I think that will be better.
You can do that. It's a little confusing. So it is, because you've got people now going in saying, well, can I or can't I, and not knowing what is open and what is not. I think it's great as information. I have no problem with that, but it's not iOER.
Okay. So let me share our slide about the video. Okay, so
love it.
We cannot hear the audio, Dr. Azlis.
Oh, really?
Can't hear it.
Yeah.
I think the moment that I tried to share just now, maybe Mr. Zulkarnain can share for us. I'll stop sharing about this for this.
Is it okay, Dr. Diane, if they use like a third party or video recorders with a watermark? That means they are not free version, so they have watermark in the video?
Usually not, because that watermark indicates that it's copyrighted. So no.
Quite tricky.
It's really tricky. I mean, that watermark indicates that it is a copyright.
If we want to remove the watermark, we have to pay for that.
Exactly. So that's why it's copyrighted.
By using the watermark, is it we are enlightened that we using the free version, and also we how to say, we promote them all as well. Is it okay with that?
No, that's still not okay. The reason they watermark it is so that people know you haven't paid for it.
I see. Okay,
so no, that's not okay. It's one thing I'm not a legal expert, but I would be very disinclined to do that because it does indicate that it is copyrighted. So I probably would steer away from using them unless or go and look up what their use details are. So if it's copyrighted, you can go to the organization and ask.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Chong, for the question also.
Yeah, I actually I did share what are the free tools to use for screen recorders during the help desk. So feel free to join if you would like to know which version is free, and then I can share with you some of the tools that you can use without this issue.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so somebody's going to play us this great video.
Yeah.
Hello, Mandi. Hello, Mandi. Tak nak yang campus dengan susu.
I think we have some connection issues.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Mr. Zulkarnain, I think the line is not okay, right?
Yeah, we still don't have audio.
I think we are so sorry about the lag on the video.
Can I just say too that the text you've got on there, make it solid.
Make it solid.
Make it solid. So you see how you've got sort of balloon text? You really want to use a clear, accessible text. So something like an Arial or a Times New Roman, a true type font, a text, so that it's really perceptible for somebody. So where you've got those balloon letters, sometimes they go into each other and it can be very difficult to read. So, sorry, I don't mean to be critical. I'm just trying to help.
It's okay, it's okay. We are okay with that.
Okay.
Because we learned something.
Hello.
See, yeah.
In this video, we're going to cover making accessible PowerPoint.
Dr. Diane, are you referring to the text
on the bottom
filled up the colors? I mean,
yeah,
like not the.
But also, I wouldn't use like a balloon text like this one is. I just use a solid text.
Select file.
Or not the rounded type
yeah.
of text. Oh, I see.
I can hear it. It's good.
I suggest you fill out the title and the author name. This will allow a screen reader to describe both what the presentation is and who it's from.
Great.
Next, as you fill out your content and need additional slides, it's important that you choose preset slide layouts. To do this, select New Slide, then choose the layout that best suits your content. Note that after the title slide, most slides will only require the title and content layout. However, you can change your format on a slide-to-slide basis. Now, I'll add some text. It's important to fill in text only in your content placeholders. If you need additional spaces for text, choose a different layout. You may also notice PowerPoint defaults to bullet style. Always utilize your tab key or your indent buttons to create a list or sublist. Let's move on to graphics, as PowerPoints are typically visual. They can often be crowded with images both meaningful and decorative. For decorative images, especially for photos that you want on every slide, you'll need to add them to the slide master so they won't be read with the other relevant content of the presentation. Go to View Slide Master. As an example, I'll add some decorative images now for images
we've run
that
out
are purely
of,
decorative.
We've run out of transcription.
They don't need alternative text. You'll also notice that the master slides correlate with the slide layouts. Now, close the master view.
Close caption.
For graphics that are meaningful and unique to specific slides that don't need to be included in the master slides, be sure to also include descriptive alternative text that describes the content. To do so, right-click the photo and select Edit Alternative Text. Write your text in the description field on the right pane. To note, if you're using a logo on the master slide, you must put one copy of the logo on an individual slide, typically on the title slide. You can also provide alternative text for that image. Moving on to links. Unlike other formats, for PowerPoint you can only include raw URLs in your content. A linked phrase or word as a link is not keyboard accessible to those who are using assistive technology device, as raw URLs can sometimes become unsightly. You can opt to change the raw URLs to word that like website link or Facebook link, as the screen reader might not identify it as link, but user will understand it as a link. Next, let's do tables. Go to Insert, Table, then select the number of cells you need. Always make sure you utilize these default tools. I've often seen people make a table into an image, then use it in their presentation. It can work, but this is not as effective as using the table tool. Users need to be able to read each cell of a table with their screen reader. You should notice the Table Tools tab at the top of the toolbar. Select the top row of your table. And under the Design tab, select Header Row. This allows a user to identify the main categories of information your table presents.
Hey! That's great. Yep. Very good, very good. And one of the things that I did pick up in some of the videos I did see, or some of the resources, was that people weren't using the name for the URL. because your screen reader won't read out the URL, or it'll read it out, but it's meaningless. So that was a really good thing to put in there. Well done. Fantastic. So a couple of things there, just maybe consider your font. I like the fact that in some of your font, you have the black background. So I would make it a completely white font on a black background, and then it's really, really perceptible for somebody who can, you know, has poor vision. And then make sure all your captions are on all of the slides. So these are the simple little things that sometimes we need to just double check at the end. Yeah, fantastic. Well done, guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Diane.
Really good. Fantastic.
Thank you for the team members also. They're really working hard on that.
Yeah, it looks like it. And, you know, thank you so much for sharing, and for Manira for sharing as well. Okay, is there anybody else who's got any questions that they're not sure of that they wanted to ask? Oh, we've got, is it Annie? Annie?
Yes, Dr. Diane, it's me again. Sorry for asking.
That's all right.
Dr. Diane, okay. My question, I think the comment about video, the one that you presented just now, is actually referring to my groups, the work of my groups. Okay. If possible, I'd like to know more on how to improve the video. Okay, that one first. Okay, the second one, my second question is about the what we call that, the audio that we use. Okay, can we use our own voice, okay, for the
yes, absolutely. Okay. If you're using something clear, I mean, one of the videos I did see last night, and please, I looked at lots, so please don't ask me which one, had a very high-pitched voice. It sounded really artificial. And I know for some students with autism, for example, they wouldn't appreciate that. So just a natural, normal voice is totally fine. You can use your own, absolutely.
Okay, so mine is on the UML, the one that I think the video that you're referring, the one with the text that changing colors. The topic is on UML, Unified Modeling Language.
Yeah, oh, that was a good one. But yes, that was the one. That was the one that changed the colors. So
yes.
Was a great resource. I learned a lot. Thank you. But it's all about making sure that it's perceptible for somebody. So if you've got grey text, I'm trying to read that grey text, and then the black text or the blue text comes in on top of it, and then I get lost as where I'm trying to read. So if I'm having problems perceiving that information, I really want it to be as clear as possible.
Right. It just just what I did was just try to help. I'm thinking of helping the users, okay, to read, because okay, they at least they know what the text or the audio is referring to which text. So that's why I make it change color. So
but you can do that by having no text on the screen, and then as you speak, that text comes in.
Oh,
and it does the same thing. Otherwise, you've got people reading ahead who can read really well. You're going to lose, track of, some people are going to lose track of what you're saying. All of those things can happen as well. So just consider it. I think it would be clearer for somebody if, as you're speaking and that text comes onto the screen. I think that's pretty clear.
Okay. Right. Got it. Okay. So that's all, Dr. Diane. Thank you.
No, it's great. And I really enjoyed the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
We did have somebody with another question, but they've disappeared. Who was that?
It's me. Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, Julie, I'll come back to you in a sec. Siti was just had her hand up. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jain. The thing is, basically, one of my job is preparing a lot of tutorials. So the one that has been shared by Samio Sen, it's very, very near to me. And the thing is, because when we are sharing a tutorial, sometimes basically there's parts of the section that we need to click. If let's say I put in some highlights or I zoom in and zoom out, would it be distracting to people, or would it be, I can just proceed with it?
It depends how you do it. And you can definitely zoom in and zoom out, but if you do it really rapidly and then move along, that's tricky. So I think you just need to consider it from the point of view of somebody who is not familiar with the content. They're learning the new content, and how are they actually perceiving that content? Are they hearing it auditorily? Are they viewing it? And then, actually, would this be perceivable for somebody who has difficulty with their vision? All of those sorts of things. So I'd be sort of taking a step back from that and saying, yes, I want to zoom in. Why do I need to zoom in? Is it relevant? Is it going to help with the learning here as well, or does it just look really fun? Those sorts of things. So, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having nice elements in your PowerPoints. Absolutely. I'm a bit of a diva like that. I like my PowerPoints, right?
Yes, me too.
So there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to consider those elements when I'm designing for inclusivity. I'm considering, okay, do I need to zoom in here? Yes, I do, because it will highlight what I'm trying to say, or, that sort of thing. So look at it pedagogically as well. What are you doing, what you're doing just for fun, or are you doing it because it's got a pedagogical purpose?
So meaning that if I want to zoom in and zoom out, so meaning that that's the area that needs to be highlighted. So pacing is important, because if we do it rapidly, so it's people are not going to be focused, and then
pacing is one we haven't really touched on, but it is actually important, because if you're speeding through something really quickly, I'm going to have great difficulty keeping up, particularly if I'm already struggling to access that content. And, even if you are talking, or you're talking rapidly, I might have difficulty perceiving what you're saying. It's easy to get distracted too. So how do I make sure that I'm keeping up with what is, happening?
Sometimes I realize that when I move my mouse, when we're showing something using screen capture, when we are moving our mouse, it's actually the cursor is actually quite distracting. So especially when we're trying to move from one place to another. So it's quite distracting.
So, those little things that can make a difference to somebody's ability to perceive your content. And, what's our purpose? Our ultimate purpose is to teach and get students to understand content and engage with that content. So how do we do that best in a way that's not distracting, or that they can actually see, or they can hear, or they can be involved in some way? So go back to that pedagogy. I think that's really critical. We're all teachers, and how do we really design it so that they can learn effectively? Okay, Julia, sorry about that.
Yes, Dr. Diane, I need some clarification from you, because can you see my screen?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so I teach this to new lecturers who need to be confirmed on the job. So I'm going to split it into 4 bite size, but my problem is this is the original that I used to do, is completely non-iOER in the past, but now that I've attended this course, I'm trying to become more iOER.
Excellent.
It's supposed to look like this, but now my concern after hearing your explanation is that we cannot use ND. So I've got some form that I downloaded.
No, you can use it. You can use it. You just can't change it. So that's fine. If you're just using it as it was, then you're okay.
Okay, so because I've got one ND here, some of these photos are my own. This one is my own, this one is my own, but this one is an ND.
It's totally fine.
Diversity.
Yeah, it's totally fine, because it is it's attributed. It's a Creative Commons license. You're using it in a non-commercial way, and you haven't changed it. It's totally fine.
So previously, I would show just one whole slide like this, but now if it's inclusive, is it going to overwhelm somebody with some kind of a disability? Even though I'm teaching this, I'm so ignorant. So I need to get clarification from you.
Technically, you've done it correctly there.
So it's okay to populate this whole page with...
Well, you can, but what message are you trying to send?
That there are all kinds of diversity, because this title is like diversity in higher ed.
So you might have them on a different page rather than one whole page. You might have, we have diversity in our ability to see. We have diversity in our ability to move. We have diversity in our ability to, I don't know, dance by the look of that one. We have diversity in our religion. We have diversity in our, so I would put it maybe on a separate page, and it doesn't have to be long, but you might have a title, we are diverse in how we see, or you might have 2 pictures on one page rather than having them all chopped together on the one page.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
I think that would be useful.
Yes, thank you. And just to get a clarification, so if I were to cut and paste like this, I don't think this is allowed, right? This is from...
No, because what it happens is that's an image. So screen reader can't read it. It'll just read it as picture.
Oh, okay.
So you're much better off typing into the, like Samio was saying, typing into what they've already got as their main ones. But you don't have to, but then you'll need to make sure you've got the alt text that describes that perfectly.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you don't have the alt text with it, then the screen reader will just say image. And it won't tell you what it's about. So it won't read out what's inside of that image.
Okay.
Lots of things to learn.
Yes, and it's okay to add an activity in. Oh, yeah, I have a
absolutely.
I have a diagram here. I think I should share with you. I feel like I really don't know iOER anymore. There's so much to learn. There's one thing here that looks a bit complex. It has got a lot of bubbles on it.
Yep.
Like a Venn diagram.
Yeah, that's okay.
So how am I going to make this inclusive?
So you need to describe it. So in your alt text, you can describe it. Now, what you can do with these diagrams is using the inbuilt smart art from the PowerPoint slide rather than importing a diagram. And then you have each one of these read out separately.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they reckon that sometimes if diagrams are too complex, it's very difficult to be perceived through screen reader. So you might have, for example, the middle one being read out first. And it says, in the middle, we have responsive inclusive pedagogy. Surrounding that, we have, so you're actually going to talk about what this diagram looks like. And so you either use alt text or you use the smart art to do it.
So that means I'll have the alt text as well as my own narration, like in the middle of the screen is a responsive inclusive pedagogy. Do I say that? How do I do the narration?
You need to describe it. So you'll need to say, when we look at the dynamics of diversity in the teaching and learning process, there are a number of key elements. I have here a diagram which describes, and so you're actually going to talk about what it is.
Okay, we'll write a script for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did ask Dr. Chong about this. I got this from somewhere. So it is actually plagiarized before my iOER course. So can I sort of tweak that a little bit and then still use some multicolored elements?
Where did you get it from?
I can't remember.
Okay. I would throw it out and start again. Go and look for an image, that is Creative Commons licensed. You can do that on any Bing search. It'll bring up all of the Creative Commons licenses for the images and it'll give you the license. So I would totally be inclined to ditch it and just find something else that's more appropriate.
And may I still use the idea that I like the R with being the big R, like diversity? So it's learner.
If you can create something yourself that isn't exactly that, then go for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yep. Brilliant. Well done. So lots of things to think about. And sometimes it's just little things that we get stuck with, which can be quite tricky. So very great questions. We've got Zolkan, is it Zolkanen?
Okay, Dr. Diane, thank you. I would like to clarify further on the PowerPoint. You did mention in the previous class that we could have another PDF version of the PowerPoint. So I would like to know, especially for those who are hearing impaired, should we put that PDF in a narrative form as if we are presenting compared to exactly what is in the PowerPoint transferred to a text, or rather have a narrative version so that they can really, follow the presentation as if we are presenting?
Yes, I would. And when I do that for my students at university, I take my PowerPoint, I convert it to text, and I save it as a RTF outline, and which you can do straight from PowerPoint. And then I actually will type and just make it as if they can have it read out by a screen reader.
Okay, thank you today.
Mm-hmm. And definitely, I think you need to consider that if you're going to make it available in that format as well. Absolutely, but well done. Yeah, great. Dr. Chong.
Okay, I just would like to read out some questions asked in the respective WhatsApp group.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the members is asking about the 3-minute videos does the 3-minute video has to be 3 minutes? Can it be less than 3 minutes or slightly more than 3 minutes?
3 minutes, people, 3 minutes. We've all had students. Yes, it's 2,000 words. Okay. Try and get it as close to 3 minutes as you can. I think if it goes, a couple of seconds under or over, I don't think that's an issue, but try and get it as close as possible.
Then another question is like, if we put something CC license and at certain point in near future, we regretted it, we would like to copyright it. Is that possible? That is question being asked.
That's tricky because once you've actually released it into the world, it's open. So, and people will be moving it. So if you think you've got something that you want to copyright later, don't make it an open resource. Because I'm not sure you can get it back once you've released it. Okay, easy. Okay, so are there any other questions? What have I got in the chat here? Nope, that's good. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. Email me. You've got my email address. Feel free, email me at any time if you need to, and you've got the fantastic facilitators as well. So what we might do now is actually just finish off. Hang on, let me see what else I've got. Yeah, we've got excellent examples from colleagues, and you've got your checklist to work through. So I think this is our goodbye, and I'd like to say thank you to everybody for your fantastic efforts here. I'm so excited for the showcase. I can't wait to see everybody's efforts up in video. So thank you so much, everyone. And if you do have any further questions, please let me know. Where's Dr. Fong gone? There he is.
Dr.
So
Diane.
thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, allow me to share screen for a moment.
Of course. Now let me stop. Oh. There we go.
Am I sharing?
Not yet. Now you are.
Okay, so it has been a wonderful session today, Dr. Diane, and all the participants with all our important questions for clarification. So we have been in a marathon journey led by our captain, our Dr. Diane Chamber. Thank you so much for leading us, Dr. Diane, into this whole new world of inclusive education. And you introduced so many tools for us. So on one hand, code might be overwhelmed for some of us, but I think we have learned a lot. At the same time, we apply just in time. So thank you, Dr. Diane.
Thank you.
Now, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Okay,
so we started in March, and we've been moving through, and this project had been actually a joint coordination between BKA, which is our Academic Excellence Division, Department of Higher Education, Malaysian Ministry of Education, and the director is Dr. Wan Johannes. And right here this morning, we have a representative from AED, that is Puan Selvi, as well as Puan Nalia. Okay, and it is also supported by UNESCO. Oh, sorry, oh, my battery. Wait a moment.
Plug in, quick. Technology, don't we love it?
I hope I got it in. Okay. So let me just go on. So this has been our development, and coming up next will be our showcase of iOER. Now, this is a normal curve that people say when there is any new innovation that comes along, the diffusion of innovation curve will be a norm. So even for iOER. So when we got started, we were all there. There were a small percentage, that were the innovators. The majority of us are in the middle there. We'd like to thank Dr. Diane Chambers as well as the facilitators for helping us in this shift. And I strongly am very confident that majority of us now have skipped towards the left, being innovators and taking the risk to explore and to create iOER. So our response to what Dr. Diane Schimper had been mentioning just now, be the champion of iOER, may all of us declare, yes, let us be the champion of iOER, especially in our institution. And of course, Simulsan for the whole region and for the world. So all of us actually can play our part. I like this book, okay? The little difference that we do, hey, it will make a big difference, you know, eventually. The little things we do, it will make a big difference. There will be a tipping point one day of iOER. And especially in Malaysia, it has already been gazetted by the government. It has also been endorsed by the Ministry of Education. So it is one of the big agenda. So may all of us, you know, the able ones, invest our time, our expertise, okay, to come up with more iOER for our dear friends who are disabled, for our dear friends, so that they can come on board, that no one is left behind. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to say a big thank you again to Dr. Diane Schimper for, wow, you have been fantastic. You are really a motivator. You have been so committed. You are great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schimper. May all of us give her a clap. Okay. And to all the facilitators, the wonderful job, you know, of the help desk, Dr. Chong and all the facilitators, thank you so much. Wonderful job. And to BKA, Dr. Wan Johannes, behind the scene, giving us all the support with Puan Selvi and Puan Nalia. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Those are the invisible support given to us. And there will be announcement coming from BKA concerning what is next for the iOER celebration ceremony.
Fabulous.
By the way, the policy is still available there that we can download. Dr. Diane, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been my absolute pleasure. Loved working with you guys. And I just wish everybody the best for the future. And if I can help in any way, please let me know.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Take care and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr.